But actually, this makes way more sense.
Oh no. Oh God. Is this just going to be where like I tell you Candace Owens conspiracy theory and you're like, well, but that's right, Simone. So you're not going to respond to the 9/11, the Bolshevik Revolution claim, the Harvard University is Mossad base. We're just putting it out there.
First of all, Harvard University could be a Mossad base. That would not be like a crazy thing.
You know what? No, I don't want your response. We're just going to go.
No, hold on.
Oh,
no,
God.
we need a plausibility check.
What are you doing? I'm trying to say she's psychotic, and you're like, me too.
No, it's important that you point out where her things aren't that crazy. Because first of all, spy operations have repeatedly throughout history used university campuses, specific university campuses, for recruiting new assets and agents. I want to talk about the word conspiracy theorist you're using here, okay?
Yeah, okay, fair.
Would you like to know more?
Hello, Malcolm. I am so excited to be speaking with you today because Candace Owens has gone off the reservation so much that I think we need to talk about it.
It was the recent one you were telling me this morning, and I was like, what the? She thought that Charlie Kirk was trained at a school like for gifted children, like in the X-Men with special telepathic powers.
The first thing that like really caught my attention was that she claimed that Charlie Kirk was a time traveler based on basically a joking, flirty text that he sent to her, where she texted him, "I'm an alien," frowny face. And he responded, "I think I'm a time traveler. This is my home, but I think you found me and time traveled with me." And she took that and just ran with it. This wasn't like, she's just gonna like, I'm gonna take things hard, literally. And someone else put it better than I did, right? With regard to the X-Men thing, Cinnamon Shogun on X wrote, Candace Owens is now saying that Charlie Kirk was marked since a child because he has special powers. She thinks he could possibly see into the future and claims he went to a secret school for kids with gifted abilities like the X-Men. That's where we're at, folks. And he posted a clip of her talking about this, followed by the X-Men intro, which I absolutely love.
Charlie may have been marked since he was a child. We've discussed these GATE programs that they have in school. And I just think on the basis of what he told me, that when he was really young, they wanted to drug him, but his mother said no, and he was really grateful for that. And instead, they decided that they could send him to this X-Men school. That's the best way I can describe it. I would certainly, by the way, for you internet sleuths, I'd like to find out which school Charlie had to attend. So he was pulled out of the regular school he was attending, and he had to go to some special school for the gifted, like he was an X-Man.
Yeah, so I mean,
I love it. Actually, going into this, you went over this with me this morning. I'm like, Simone, you have multiple times recently told me something crazy Candace Owens said that you were aghast at.
Yeah.
We need to make an episode on all of her, because her worldview, I want to live in her mind. It must be the craziest world.
Yeah.
And actually, your whole thesis was this, because you wanted to find out what kind of crazy was she. Was she like audience captured? Was she like having genuine psychosis?
What flavor of psychosis does she have? Is this like old school psychosis? Is this audience capture psychosis? Or is this AI induced psychosis? And so what we're going to do in this episode is we are going to go through her conspiracy theories, and we're going to look at, has her audience kind of egg this on? And then we're going to come to a conclusion on what like it. Or is she just psychosis maxing? Is it all of them? We're going to go into it though. But I want to point out though, just how wild it is, before I even give you the full depth of all of her conspiracy theories, just how many followers she has. So on X, she has 7.5 million followers. And for scale, Brett Cooper, who's also part of like the Daily Wire cinematic universe and also someone who left the Daily Wire, though more recently. She, compared to Candace Owens' 7.5 million, has just 536.8 thousand. Ben Shapiro has 8 million, so only 500,000 more than Candace Owens, who's more of an up-and-comer than, like she's newer to the scene than Ben Shapiro.
But she doesn't have moneyed interest backing her like he does.
Yeah, I know, right? So this is like really impressive.
She's just a crazy person.
Yeah. Asmongold has 1.2 million. Elon Musk has, well, I think like 242.5 million. Donald Trump, 109 million. Hassan Piker, 1.6 million. Greta Thunberg, 5.1 million. So just to give you kind of like a landscape, Candace Owens is at the higher end. She's obviously not at like Donald Trump or Elon Musk level, but she's above Asmongold, just a tiny bit below Ben Shapiro. On YouTube, she has 5.74 million subscribers. Ben Shapiro has 7.13 million. Brett Cooper, who only left the Daily Wire fairly recently, is just 1.68 million. Asmongold has 4.3. So Candace Owens has more subscribers on YouTube than Asmongold, even though like Asmongold, I think, speaks for the typical centrist American who's online, whereas Candace Owens speaks to like someone wearing a tinfoil hat. And
this is the thing. This is the scale and scope of her conspiracies as we get to them. These are not like us dunking on Candace Owens for like being wrong. Like it's not even like these aren't even things worth like debunking or differences of political opinion. Charlie Kirk was not a time traveler raised with special powers.
So that's what you think. I mean, who were we to say? But we are going to go into these.
No. Actually, I know we can joke about this, but the point that I'm making here is this is not about us saying we have political differences with Candace Owens.
Oh yeah, no. This is she is unhinged, and yet even on Patreon, she has 11.8K members, and her membership starts at $20 per month. Though I think that it's 50 and then 75.
But this is what I love about Candace Owens.
I want to point out that the unit economics of that work out to $237,200 per month.
Wow.
Per month, just from Patreon. That's not including all of her sponsorships, her YouTube revenue, everything else that she gets. Like she is making tons of like people are spending a lot of money, and the only reason they're paying for that and this is assuming she gets only minimum tier payers. And what you get for that is just the ability to, quote, submit questions and comments to have answered or discussed in the final segment of A Shot in the Dark. This will be the only pool of questions selected from. And I feel like, again, this is going to come in later as we try to figure out what is driving her psychosis. I almost feel like a very large number of those people do not believe at all in what she's saying. They just want to make her more crazy. And they are paying $20 a month to be able to give her questions and comments that she has to read so that they can drive her more crazy.
This is the thing about Candace Owens and her conspiracies.
Yeah.
Other people will pick up on like pre-existing conspiracy theories and expand them. Candace Owens invents and generates entirely new and intricate strains of conspiracy theory.
And it may be that this is a genre of entertainment that people very much like and enjoy and are willing to pay for.
Well, I mean, people also say our show is conspiracy theories, no culture but the West, blah, 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 blah.
Oh my God, is she like the new Charles Dickens? Because Charles Dickens has changed, he serialized his books. And then people would write into him and be like, you can't kill this character, or like this has to happen. And he's changed his plots because people have complained. Like he was the OG person subject to moderate amounts, at least, of audience capture.
So if he lived today, all of his characters would be gay and trans. They'd be like,
well, it depends on his audience, right? I mean, Candace Owens is an example of like conservative Christian conspiracy theorist audience capture, or like, I don't know, troll audience capture.
Well, in her extended fiction universe, the President Macron's wife was a man.
Yeah, so let's just go. No. Let's don't jump the shark here. Let's go through her claims one by one, and we can actually let's start with the anti-Semitic ones. And I think this is really important because I think this might have been something that really helped her get started, even before the Macron.
Get started, anti-Semitism.
Well, and the thing is, I think her anti-Semitic theories may be among the most important because I think they led to a surge of support for her, because anti-Semitism is totally on the rise. We've gotten bumps when we post anti-Semitic content, so I could see how you would be, even at the very least, subconsciously motivated to lean into anti-Semitic content. And her unique flavor of anti-Semitism, I think, really feeds into something that the anti-Semitic fans of the internet extra like, because there's a huge correlation between someone being anti-Semitic and very openly and enthusiastically anti-Semitic online, and then also wanting to conflate Jews with conspiracy theories. And Candace, like, improvs conspiracy. She's like the jazz master of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories.
And I got to point out here before you go further, we actually haven't done any actually anti-Semitic videos, but we will sometimes intentionally try to make title cards, make it look as if the video is going to be anti-Semitic, because I know it will do better if the average YouTube watcher thinks they're about to watch something anti-Semitic.
But a lot of the comments that we get when they are anti-Semitic, it's like, well, the JOOs or the like juice emoji are
commenters are anti-Semitic.
Yeah, well, no, but not just that they're anti-Semitic. The correlation between someone who makes an anti-Semitic comment who also is making a comment about Jews doing conspiracies is like 80%. 80%.
You're
if
right,
someone's going to say something anti-Semitic, they're also going to say something conspiratorial. Candace Owens is like, oh. So here's what some of the things she says.
Hold on. I just had a realization.
What?
Judaism is almost like the Freemasons were still a religion. You know, like all the conspiracy theories, like believe the Freemasons like do this and do that and do that.
Yeah, like the Simpsons song.
Yeah, it's like with Judaism, it's like they just found an actual group of people and ascribed it all to them.
Yeah, no, totally. And they love that. And I think that's one of though Charlie Kirk was the major inflection point for her, the anti-Semitic stuff is like a very big engine for anyone in terms of growth, especially if they feed into conspiracy theories. So this is crucial. In terms of what she's actually argued with her anti-Semitic conspiracy theorizing, she has alleged that Jews founded Israel as part of a cult linked to the Frankist sect. She's the one who's all about the Frankist sect.
Who are the Frankists? What's the lore here?
I haven't. So she said that they were involved in crimes against Christians during Passover. I've not heard of Frankists from anyone but her. And every time I try to listen to her talk about it, I get real confused. I don't know if it's because of my feminized brain being so stupid. You'll come to understand that Candace also realizes that women are not very smart. And if women are in successful positions, it's probably because they're really men. But yeah, I don't quite understand.
Okay, hold on. I'll read an explanation of who she thinks they are, okay?
Okay.
The Frankists, followers of the 18th century figure Jacob Frank, represented a secretive, heretical cult that she describes as the preferred religion of the elites. She portrays them
Wait, but then how can this have to do with crimes against Christians during Passover?
Wait, we'll get there.
Okay.
She describes them as devil worshippers who practice deception, inversion of morals, and extreme transgressions, including PDA files, incest, and ritualistic crimes as part of their religious beliefs. Owens claims Frankism is an offshoot or continuation of Sabbatianism from the early false messiah Sabbatai Zevi. Oh. That face is me realizing that I got Baal Shem Tov confused with Sabbatai Zevi, two figures who I think are bad figures from Jewish history, but Jews would not think that Baal Shem Tov was as bad as Sabbatai Zevi. And so I was very embarrassed. And then I was trying to remember if I had put that episode live yet, or if I had time to fix it, and I did not have time to fix it. But emphasizes its antinomial, anti-law nature, where followers deliberately violate moral religious norms to achieve some form of spiritual elevation of power. I just realized
you can understand how this just flies right over my head, right? Knowing me.
Yeah. Well, it actually makes sense. So Sabbatai Zevi really did practice those things.
Mm-hmm. So you're just saying Candace Owens is right about everything. What about this? She claimed that Jews orchestrated the Bolshevik Revolution to exterminate Christians, and that Harvard University serves as a Mossad base, and that Israel was behind 9/11, and that the Holocaust was exaggerated or fabricated.
So she has repeatedly stated that the Frankists are not true Jews, but imposters who reject mainstream Judaism, which would be the case if they were followers of Sabbatai Zevi, and were excommunicated by rabbinical authorities. Instead, they allegedly infiltrate other faiths, such as Catholicism, through false conversions to undermine or destroy Christian societies and empires.
Well, then why does she blame Israel for stuff, unless Israel has actually infiltrated or sorry, unless this sect the Frankists have successfully infiltrated all of like.
Well, okay, so if Frankists are descendants from Sabbatai Zevi,
Mhm.
it would be a branch from Judaism, but it would be a inversion of Judaism. Like literally what Sabbatai Zevi believed was that you needed to invert all the laws of Judaism because we were in the Messianic period. And so that meant that morality had become inverted. I actually got this wrong, I think, on yesterday's video in editing. I thought it was Balshim who did that.
Yeah, and
like,
two people at least were like, you got the wrong guy. Yeah, confused them. Thanks, guys. You guys are you always fact check us, and we really appreciate that.
Fact check us. I did not look it up, and I was being stupid. Two very important figures from Jewish history around the same period.
We're so bad with names.
But actually, this makes way more sense.
Oh no! Oh God! Is this just going to be where like I tell you Candace Owens conspiracy theory, and you're like, well, but that's right, Simone.
No, I'm not saying it makes it, but what I'm saying is it's a coherent worldview.
Okay.
The idea. So okay.
So she's a good spinner of conspiracy lore.
Okay, so for people who don't know, this is actually probably pretty important. There was a period where around 40 to 30% of the Jewish community believed the Messiah had come. It was somebody named Sabbatai Zevi. He ended up converting to Islam. That doesn't really matter, but he did believe in rule inversion. And the other thing that he was totally not above is attempting to influence other groups and stuff like that. Like after the demoralization that came with Sabbatai Zevi's conversion into
Islam.
Yes,
Weirdness.
Islam. You could say that his faction got really demoralized. And they didn't just get demoralized. It is true, absolutely true, that portions of the factions that followed him went sort of underground because they were too embarrassed to admit that they still practiced some of these things from this guy who turned out to be a fraud who betrayed everyone. And he's the guy who I think is like the actual Antichrist because he's a complete inversion of Jesus in terms of everything that he did. You can watch our track series on that. But from Candace Owens' perspective, could some of these secret groups still exist and have power?
Yeah.
Because Sabbatai Zevi did associate with groups that did have power. Like conceivably, I can see how this conspiracy works in somebody's mind. I don't think it's real. But I would say is that if you're looking, because I've always had a problem with this, where do you get like actual Satanists from? That makes no sense. Like he's the bad guy. Like, why are you following the guy who in the book is like, there isn't I remember when I was a kid, I asked my parents this once. I was like, why is anyone a Satanist when we know like by the text, he's the bad guy, right? And the real answer is that real world Satanists don't actually worship Satan. They just say that they're Satanists to piss off Christians. And then
they're trolls. Other stuff. Yeah.
But there is an actual real founded in reality, theological reason for reality inversion if you believe in the metaphysics of Sabbatai Zevi. Okay, so what I pulled up only brought up Candace Owens' perception of this event. It didn't bring up the real event that happened. And I'm a little scared. I think some fans are going to think, Malcolm, you're going to crash out over this. I'm not going to crash out. We'll just go into it. It's not like some became Catholics. They all became Catholics. So let's go into this. So Jacob Frake, after Sabbatai Zevi, was born 60 years later in the Ukraine. He claimed to be the spiritual successor or reincarnation of Zevi, and also the biblical patriarch Jacob. He took the antinomial idea much further. This is the idea that you should invert morality. He taught that all existing religious laws, Jewish, Christian, and Muslim, were created by evil forces and must be deliberately broken to reach the ultimate redemption. His followers engaged in ritualized sexual transgressions, documented orgies, partner swapping, and sources mention incest. The most famous incident was in 1756 in La Couronne, where they were allegedly caught dancing around a semi-naked woman representing the Shekinah, or the divine female presence. After being persecuted by Jewish and Christian authorities, Frank persuaded several thousand followers to undergo a mass conversion to Catholicism. But it's very clear that they kept their secret beliefs and still worshipped this individual while practicing antinomial ideas. Now, this is where I was like, wait, what? Like, because I thought the Catholic thing, everyone's always like, oh, it's the Catholics, the Jews, the Catholics, the Jews. None of the Frankists stayed Jews. None of them stayed Jews. They are 100% in the Catholic Church. That is the historical reality of this. If this is a conspiracy theory, it is a conspiracy theory about Catholicism. Now, I'm not arguing it's not as bad as it sounds on the it's pretty bad, but it's not as bad as it sounds on the surface. So let's go a bit deeper here. Because I was like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. All of these people were born Jews, like in Jewish communities of like the 1700s. You don't just randomly all become Catholics. So I was trying to figure out what was going on here, expressing doubt, right? And so the reason it apparently worked is they say it's a mix of strategic survival, theological beliefs, and opportunism, not a sincere adoption of Catholic practices. So they were facing incredibly heavy prosecution from Jewish authorities. So Frank's teachings were extremely heretical, specifically to Jews. Obviously, if you're creating an anti-Judaism, that would be heretical mostly to Jews, because he promoted redemption through sin, deliberately breaking Jewish laws, including sexual taboos like orgies and incense, as a mystical path. And so the Jewish community was obviously very, very angry at him, and he wasn't going to be easily really reaccepted into this community with any sort of authority. So to escape this, Frank and his group turned to Catholic bishops and nobles for shelters. They cleverly told the church what they wanted to hear, that they rejected the Talmud, which Christians often criticized, but accepted Kabbalistic texts and claimed that those supported ideas like the Trinity, although they secretly meant their own Messiah, not Jesus. This positioned them as potential allies against Talmudic Judaism. And if anyone knows my thoughts on Kabbalistic texts, obviously I am not a fan of this guy. So Frank's own theology made conversion a required step. Frank claimed divine revelations, saying Christianity, specifically Catholicism, was a temporary transitional stage to the future messianic religion he would reveal. It was part of descending into Edom, the Kabbalistic symbol for Christianity and the Christian world, as a necessary humiliation redemption path. So basically, if you're being the opposite of a Jew and you need to go through this humiliation ritual or like opposite ritual, Catholicism made sense to him. And so baptism was famed as a ritual act to reach higher spiritual levels, specifically like a sinful ritual act. Like baptism was to him like an orgy was to him. And more than that, the conversion opened doors. Polish Catholic nobles acted as grandparents to them, gave them names, titles, and integration into the upper gentry, which is crazy. What's interesting here is that this was all mostly fake from, apparently we know this from historical documents, a classic crypto-religious movement, i.e. secret religious movement, like the Marranos in Spain centuries earlier. They kept secretly referring to Frank as their holy master. They continued the antinomial practices in private, and they intermarried only among themselves to wait for the real religion to be revealed. The church grew suspicious, and Frank was arrested in 1760 for feigned conversion and heresy, imprisoned 13 years later. So what's interesting is after he disappeared, we see mentions of people practicing things tied to this. I think it was what I was looking at, like all the way until the late 1800s, early 1900s. And very interesting, the being adopted into the upper ranks is sort of approving that like a large section of Jews could join them. Like that's why they were so excited and so uncredulistic about this. So yeah, but the Pope did appear to be suspicious from the start. Papal nuncio, Polish primates were suspicious. No Frankish became priests, bishops, or high officials in the church. So to say that this is like carried into the Catholic Church, I think not. But the point I'd make is if the conspiracy is anywhere, it's within the Catholic Church, not Jews. The Jews apparently for obvious reasons, hated these people. Continue.
Okay. So you're not going to respond to the 9/11, the Bolshevik Revolution claim, the Harvard University is Mossad base. We're just putting it out there.
First of all, Harvard University could be a Mossad base. That would not be like a crazy thing.
You know what? No, I don't want your response. We're just going to go.
No, hold on. We need a plausibility check.
What are you doing? I'm trying to say she's psychotic, and you're like, me too.
It's important that you point out where her things aren't that crazy. Because if you just say something like Harvard University would actually make an excellent. So first of all, spy operations have repeatedly throughout history used university campuses, specific university campuses, for recruiting new assets and agents.
Yeah, you want competence. You get it there.
Well, it's not just competence, but it's a good time on somebody's life to get, blackmail on them. They're typically more open to like, if you're a young person at college, they're like, look, we'll help you get a few early good jobs. You just owe us this later. Like it's a very easy place to do that. Mossad is the most competent spycraft operation on the planet Earth.
Oh yeah, so
And
they
not
would
even
want to recruit
anti-Semitic
from
people
the
will argue
best
against
place.
that.
Yeah.
So that they would have an operation set up at Harvard seems, I'd almost think it would be unlikely that there isn't some sort of Mossad recruiting operation at Harvard.
Okay.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I mean the FBI recruited at my college, but that's just because we were based in DC. Okay, she also on the Jew front, we got to keep going. There's a lot more. Suggested that critics of Israel fear for their lives and that Jews assassinated JFK. And
well, the JFK one actually has a lot of backing to it. So
I thought everyone said it was like the mafia, the Italian.
No. It was the mafia, probably. But what's important to note is that when they finally released all of the JFK files, and we've gotten the
they finally did. I thought they didn't
released
yet.
a lot of them. The one thing that is censored consistently throughout all of them, because I forget how we know this, but it's anything tied to Israel. And apparently there was a lot tied to Israel in those files. Now, what I think actually happened is Israel was being stupid and didn't understand how that was going to look. And so they were just like, well, because we do a lot of joint spycraft operations and stuff like that. And so they were probably like, hey, this is like proprietary information for us, Israel. And we did these joint operations thinking they would never get out to the public. And so do not mention our name in this. And so the guy at the desk was like, okay, cross out Israel. It's going to make you guys look guilty as sin, but I'm crossing it out.
Okay, so I looked back into this one to try to understand why it was all crossed out when it had to tie to Israel. And it was actually a blanket cross out tied to something called sources and methods, meaning anything that had to do with how we got intelligence, because obviously you don't want to show sources, was crossed out. And we do so much cross intelligence with Israel that it made it look like Israel was super tied to this. And the reason we know it's Israel is because the 2025 methods unblocked all the Israel mentions. And so people were able to see when that dropped that Israel had just been crossed out a ton in former stuff, but everywhere it had been crossed out was very innocuous.
Now, who do I think actually killed JFK? I think it was a breakout faction within the FBI that was attempting to maintain power.
I could see that. Yeah.
I could do a different episode on that, but I actually think that there's a lot of evidence that there was at the time portions of the FBI that essentially began to operate without government supervision. And the people in it thought that they were doing what was right for America and thought that any thing that they did was okay to do because they're long-term doing it for America. And so I think it was an FBI operation, and not like the mainstream FBI, but like a branch of it. But anyway, you're getting into Malcolm conspiracy here.
Yeah, well, we can do if you guys want Malcolm's conspiracy corner, we can do that. Just comment below. But let's get to the transgender the conspiracies, because I don't think stop. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna do Malcolm conspiracy corner if people want it. Save it, but let's get to the transgender stuff, because you started with referring to Macron. I didn't know it was just Macron. So we knew about the Macron conspiracy, specifically for those uninitiated, that Brigitte Macron, who's France's first lady, Emmanuel Macron's wife, they have a weird enough relationship as it was. She was his school teacher. So it was already weird, people. We didn't need to make it weirder, but she alleges that Brigitte was born male, that her name was Jean-Michel Trognu, but that's her brother's name. So there is one, it's just her brother. And this led to a defamation lawsuit that was filed last year. I think it's still going on, but it wasn't. Oh, and also just with Macron, she also thinks that they're plotting her assassination and that they are complicit in Charlie Kirk's murder. But that's just via French involvement in global conspiracies, not like they specifically had it out for Charlie Kirk. But here's the thing that I didn't know about her whole transgender stuff, is that she has made similar baseless allegations about other women like Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris, suggesting that this is part of this broader pattern where powerful women's achievements defy traditional she's
like Austin Powers. I've got to put that scene here.
Yes.
It's a man, baby.
No, literally, I swear to God.
She's a man.
No, it's like the lawsuit comes out, right? And they're like, no, this is actually a woman. And of course she's like,
Well, you have to admit, she is rather mannish.
she did look rather
pull off
mannish.
the wig. Actually.
What was even crazier is watching this next scene in the world of trans normalization and then imagining a based remake of Austin Powers where he has a similar mix up and they have to explain to him that this is normal now.
I've got an idea. That ain't no woman. It's a man.
So then there's the what I would like to call the fake and gay series. She's referred to some things as just fake and gay, but sadly in this case gay just it means like the sort of pejorative slang and not actually gay, which would have been more fun if she had like some kind of conspiracy around. For example, she describes the Apollo moon landing as fake and gay, but that's not about like gay men doing something. She was just hosting conspiracy theory Bart Seibel on her podcast at one point to promote the idea that the moon landing was staged, possibly by Stanley Kubrick. And then she later clarified on Bill Maher's podcast that she didn't care enough about the topic to fully endorse it as a hoax, but she's just like, yeah, moon landing, fake and gay. But I mean, even Kim Kardashian is like, I mean, I just feel like that's kind of mainstream. It's flat earther, but make it mainstream thought or like attractive woman, you know?
No, it's basic, and
it is very basic. It's the pumpkin
summary.
spice latte of conspiracy theories. Moon landing was faked. Yeah. And then dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are also fake and gay.
The moon landing and dinosaurs.
Yeah, moon landing dinosaurs. Yeah, she's also promoted Gnostic inspired ideas, viewing certain events like Kirk's assassination through this lens of ancient heresies. Where just, yeah, but anyway, so just in more broad, and I think this is where we can just broadly agree with at least one element of it, and that she on the social and political front has called, she said that like there's been this, what's the best way to put it, like concerted effort to disproportionately abort Black babies, and we have 100%
That's true.
backs that up on our podcast. It is true. That is not a conspiracy. I mean, well, I guess it's a conspiracy, and that Planned Parenthood conspired to have Black babies aborted, but it's not an
literally the
unproven
reason
conspiracy.
it was set up was to abort Black children.
So she was right on that one, and I guess you're right. Like there, some of the things here are really well founded. But let's go to Charlie Kirk, because I mean, I think you and I would probably still agree that Tyler Robinson got a little deranged and killed him. You know, I don't think we believe there was something more going on at this time. But what
was going on is so nefarious and bad looking for progressives and the powers that be. Why would that be fake?
Yeah, and also just here's where Candace Owens really, I'm still trying to work out how she sees this. So maybe you can explain this. She says that Kirk was shot from below the stage with the assassin escaping through tunnels. But I've seen the footage, and I think many people have, of the shot. It doesn't look like he was shot from below. She tied the killing to Israel, suggesting Mossad involvement due to Kirk's shifting views on Israel. And she shared this text thread that was leaked because it didn't look like it wasn't a text.
He was going anti-Israel.
He was. And the text thread that famously got shared wasn't one between her and Charlie Kirk, like with the whole time traveling flirtation thing. But instead it was between Charlie Kirk and another member of Turning Points USA, where he was like he was just fed up with Jewish donors for.
Well, I mean, we've had episodes like that on our show. Like it's really frustrating to say something like mildly like be like we should like rethink our military aid, or like, oh, here's why people are acting more anti-Semitic, and then people saying that's anti-Semitic, and you're like, I didn't like what's even the point of ever being nice to a community if you do the slightest infraction
and then you catch a bunch of
biting at you, right? Like,
I don't know though, like I'm also very mercenary. Like if someone gives me money, like I dance for them, you know.
Yeah, I do the same, right? You know, big Jewish donors.
You bought a service, you get the service. Yeah.
But I lack Charlie Kirk's whatever.
Well, the thread though, specifically, let me pull it up. In this thread, he says, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. ugh, Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. To which his colleague, who we don't see in the screenshot, says, please don't invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term, in my opinion. Like all groups, you're going to get wide variety of opinions. That nasty free will thing that God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times. And then he talks about after the dust settles something, and then it gets cut off. But what Charlie Kirk was experienced was he lost 2 million a year. So to my mercenary thing, I mean, I might also falter if someone stops paying. Maybe I might stop doing the thing they're paying for. So
I'd cancel Tucker for $2 million a year. You want to know how much? You want to know how much morality I have?
Your loyalties lie.
Charlie Kirk, better than these two. I'll tell you that.
I know, right? But so it's not just Mossad that Candace is blaming, though. She also thinks that there are TPUSA insiders, not Erica Kirk, and American Israel supporters, and also the French military. Don't forget the French military, and also evangelical churches. I haven't gone deep enough into like all of the role that each individual part plays, but she's also linked Kirk's trip to Asia to this all and claimed it was part of this larger cover-up. And she, just to be clear, because a lot of people who follow her have tried to insinuate or directly implicate Erica Kirk in this murder. And Candace Owens is very clear, like, no, I'm not blaming Erica Kirk. And she met with Erica Kirk and like played into people's like, oh, Erica's going to try to kill you. And Candace Owens is like, well, Erica, like, I don't know, like bought her a drink or something. She's like, well, I didn't drink it. Like, I don't, but like she's been very explicit, either because she's being hit with like major defamation or slander lawsuit threats, or because she actually just, for some reason, really doesn't want to implicate this. But there's the Egyptian planes component that I think a lot of people will have
to do, especially if she knows that it's fake. To blame somebody for killing like the mother,
their husband, the mother of children, because she also is a mother of children.
This is actually like a fake thing she's doing for entertainment purposes.
Yeah,
I can see her being like, look, even I'm not that monster.
She's not that debauched. But a lot of people mock her for the whole Egyptian planes thing, and I didn't know how they fit in, so I'm going to explain for those who like me were not
all wrong.
What? Who? Huh?
The plane records, she got them all wrong.
Well, yes, but here's what she claimed. She claimed that Egyptian military or surveillance aircraft, and she was specifically identifying the planes like SU-BTT and SU-BND via flight tracking data from sources like ADS-B Exchange, were repeatedly tracking or overlapping with the locations of Erica Kirk. And then on the day of the assassination, she claimed that at least one or maybe both of these Egyptian planes was present or powered on at the Provo airport, which is right by where Charlie Kirk was. And then she says that one took off shortly after while the other remained grounded, and that passengers allegedly received rental cars, possibly linked to Duncan Aviation. And she implied that there were operatives and foreign entities on the ground. And then she's referenced tips, including unnamed quote unquote federal agents, warning her to stop discussing the planes. And alleged TPUSA pressured her to drop it too. But she basically just is trying to say people are trying to shut me up about this and cover it up. And I think when people are like, Candace, you're wrong about this, like you were just like, hey, she tracked the data wrong. I think when people, even in who are her supporters and who believe what she says, try to correct her because they actually did fact check and they just couldn't back up what she was claiming. The way her brain intuitively interprets that is, oh, you are trying to silence me. So I think that's kind of the problem.
When you tell her you're factually wrong,
and she's like, oh, I see what you're a federal agent, aren't you? Like that kind of thing. But it's also, of course, the X-Men style. I just love
her brain works like that.
Her brain she has a beautiful mind. She has a very stable genius. And let's go. Speaking of geniuses and exceptional people, her whole X-Men style school for gifted children thing.
I want to know more about this.
Yeah. So this whole thing about Charlie Kirk being marked as a child due to exceptional abilities, like off the chart test scores and things like that, maybe possibly foresight. She alleged that agents wanted to drug him for behavioral issues, but that his mother refused. And this led to him being placed in a school for the gifted akin to the X-Men Academy. And she was possibly referring to programs like GATE, or schools out of Quest Academy in Illinois. And she says that he was monitored by government agents his whole life, required security early on, and that she herself was recruited for a similar program, but, quote, pretended to be an idiot, end quote, to escape. And critics note Kirk attended public schools like Wheeling High School and did not graduate college. And this contradicts the whole narrative. So to be fair, arguably school teachers are government agents. And also it's super common for teachers and school administrators to insinuate, at the very least, possibly even explicitly encourage parents to drug their children. Like to give Adderall to especially smart, energetic boys. Like they're drugged to high heaven. So she's not wrong that he was monitored by government agents his entire youth and that they tried to drug him, because that's like literally any boy in America who goes to school.
Yeah, that happened to me growing up. Like, I don't understand.
I also think both you and I were in the GATE program.
I was in a lot of various like gifted programs. I
was actually in GATE. I remember testing into it, and I remember going to it, and I have zero memory of what we actually did. I remember where we would meet for class. It was in our school auditorium, which was also our school lunchroom, which was also our school basketball, like indoor basketball court. But I remember sitting at folding tables. We didn't do anything. Yeah, being monitored. Yeah, but I love that she pretended to be dumb to stay away from the program. Everyone wanted to be in that program because you could get out a normal class and basically do nothing.
I love the idea if you have this paranoid child who takes tests for like the gifted program. And they like, I put on the Cartman scene where he's pretending to be retarded.
Oh, so yeah, anyway, on the X-Men thing, like, well, he wasn't in any special schools. She's not technically wrong about the other
She is technically wrong. She is entirely wrong.
Well, no, I mean, okay, he didn't go to like an X-Men academy, but like a government agents monitored him and tried to drug him.
Yeah, okay. True.
So that's true. I'm saying that's true. I'm confirming this one.
True. Okay.
It's
I love that there's a bunch of these where I'm just like, well, it depends on how you look at it.
No, she spends a good yarn, and maybe she warrants then the $240,000 she gets a month minimum on Patreon. Not a little salty about that at all. For those of you who support us on Patreon, though, I am so freaking grateful. It really means a lot to us. So thank you. So let's go to the time traveler claim, though, because let's not forget about that. She stated it as an absolute fact that Kirk believed he was a time traveler based on private text messages where, and for the way she framed this all before she actually shared a screenshot of the text exchange, which I read to you at the top, was that, he said he was a time traveler and that he had to find her. And she also claims that he knew he would die young to change outcomes, and then speculated that this was tied to CIA's Project Looking Glass, which is this conspiracy theory about a time traveling device from the ancient Sumeria. Like it's linked to the Mandela Effect.
What a cool effing world. We need to have a video game that just takes place in the world that Candace Owens.
I made one on Reality Fabricator. Your Candace Owens, and everything you say is true. Like all your conspiracy theories are true. And I had Grok create a summary of all of our conspiracy theories, and I put it into that. When you make a custom scenario on Grok, you can have like the premise of it be public and upfront, and then you can put stuff in the back end of like the plot of whatever adventure you've created that the user can't see, but that the AI knows. So as you play through it all those plot devices come out.
Candace Owens trying
all of her conspiracy theories. So like you'll bump into them as you play.
Candace Owens trying to survive in a world of what I like about her conspiracy theories is they are very different from standard conspiracy theory narratives. It's not like aliens and everything like that, or reptilians or anything. It's, secret government schools and spying on you, and like sort of like almost gang stalking related stuff, but tied to other people. Like,
yeah.
It is a fascinatingly unique conspiratorial world that like borders on the believable in many ways if you're prone to, like, it's not.
Yeah. If you
I
just
have
lean into it,
telekinetic powers.
if
It's
you just
Charlie Kirk.
mentally yes and it. And I tried to find out because we have these texts that he sent her which explain the time traveler part where she like way yes anded that like a lot, but I couldn't get I was trying to find out where she got the impression that he thought he would die or knew he would die young. I mean, you and I get this impression that we're going to die like any day. So we talked about that. I feel like part of that could just be that he kind of had the same mindset that we do, which is like, I just can't imagine making it past like to the next year. Like
I'll tell you where she got it from.
Where?
Like I can already sort of figure this out. She got it because it's narratively the most interesting thing.
Well, no. We actually, so I'll tell, I mean, in her January 14th podcast of this year, so like 4 days ago as of this recording, titled Project Looking Glass, How Did Charlie Know He Was Going to Die? This is episode 290 of her Candace show. She explicitly states that Kirk repeatedly told her he was a time traveler and expressed foreknowledge of dying young. And then she claims that he tied this to his work with Turning Points USA, saying things like, from the beginning of Turning Points USA, he, quote, knew in his gut that he might get wiped out at any time, end quote, and dreamed about it frequently. She claims he, quote, was not sure he would live to see the end of this revolution, end quote, and believed Owens was the person meant to, quote, finish the fight, end quote, after him. And then he predicted his death would be a tragic event connected to the organization and that he would die young as part of a larger mission or predetermined outcome. So that's what she said very recently.
It's very clear. So first of all, remember what she extrapolated into he the time traveler. She doesn't think she's an alien from that exchange.
I know, that's so great. It's so great. Yeah, it's not two-sided.
No, nothing she says is a joke, just things that other people say can't be jokes. But the wider point being is when she looks at something like this, so he said he might die young, or like he's afraid of being assassinated, which anyone with his profile would be. He gets
totally,
right? Yeah, like we get death threats constantly. We talk about that with people that we talk to. Like obviously that's what he talked to her about. I might die as part of my advocacy. Yeah, and something like it'd be normal to say something like, and I.
Well, it was a real risk. I mean, he had security. He knew that there were threats. I'm sure he got death threats all the time. So, yeah.
So did he say that to her? Yeah, probably. Yeah. You know, but does that mean
she's just threading it together? We're running out of time, so let's keep going. Okay. So first off, I just had to kind of like reality check this. Like, is there actually evidence that anyone genuinely believes what she's saying? Because I could see a world in which she's just doing jazz with conspiracy theories, but everyone else is just like they're not believing it. Yeah. But there are absolutely posts that I found even after a tiny bit of scrolling on her Twitter feed or on X, or just seeing what people have sent me about Candace Owens, of people absolutely trying to defend her. One example is Lori Love, who has over 19,000 followers on X, defending Owens' time traveler claims by pointing to her sharing the text exchange screenshot. She writing, Candace Owens claims Charlie Kirk was a time traveler. She's insane. She's psychotic. Kind of, voicing the doubts of people as expressed. And then she writes, correction, Charlie Kirk said he was a time traveler, as if like mic drop. Like as if this wasn't obviously a flirty exchange where they're just kind of joking, or at least, I mean, Candace Owens just joking that she's an alien. Anyway, in terms of whether
to do anything other than joke back to that, how else do you even respond to that?
I know exactly. Like he's doing what any normal person with social skills would do. So I think so I'm just saying there are people online who are feeding into it and who are so earnest and don't see the irony. However, her fans are absolutely trolling her and egging her on as well. And it's not just her fans. The Daily Wire also trolls her. So one thing they did recently was they made a fake Egyptian air advertisement riffing on her Egyptian planes conspiracy theory and posted it from her old Daily Wire account, which is delightful.
That's a good meme. I like that.
And then I think
what did the ad say? What was the joke?
Oh, I'll send you. You can watch it. You can watch it really quick. Hold on. Let me send you a link because it's funny. It's cute. Okay, go to WhatsApp.
You should be obsessed with traveling, not just the destination, but the experience of getting there. When you travel with us, you'll feel warm, you'll feel welcome, and you'll feel watched. because every seed comes with the peace of mind of knowing someone is following you with 2 planes. This is what you can expect when you fly with At Egyptian Air, we definitely never mix up our time zones, flight numbers, or flight times. We know every journey is your personal business. After all, your personal business is our business, is our motto. Egyptian Air, wherever you travel,
We will follow.
Simone, what is
It's a good troll.
what is even? I wish I lived in this world of trolling Candace Owens. We don't have crazy people in our world.
Well, we'll get there. But here's I also need to point out that Candace Owens actively feeds into this. So she made a post recently where she said, question for conspiracy theorists, in quotes, only. What's the real reason the deep state is suddenly obsessed with seizing Greenland? So she actively calls out conspiracy theorists, in scare quotes, and asks them to share theories with her. So there's
She's like, I don't have a good conspiracy theory on this one yet. I'm gonna crowdsource.
give me some material, guys. And they didn't even have to pay $20 a month for that. Wow. I mean, like this is the hack. If you really want to feed into the Candace Owens and have her listen to you, but not pay $20 a
and
month.
feed her conspiracies about us. I loved hearing on Joe Rogan that I'm a vampire, and so
well, and actually, she said that she was really enjoying listening to a podcast, I think, associated with Kurt Metzger. So anyway, let's get to what flavor of psychosis does Candace Owens have? So in favor of AI psychosis, 2025 was the first year AI psychosis really arose. That is also when Candace Owens got really big and when all of these conspiracy theories I just shared with you went crazy. All of these really got big in 2025 at around the same time that AI psychosis got big. However, Owens was known for being a conspiracy theory from 2018 onward. So I think if anything, the AI psychosis got worse or made it worse, or she got AI psychosis, which fed into her existence.
I want to talk about the word conspiracy theorist you're using here, okay?
Yeah, okay, fair. Because I'll give you the context in which she was described as a conspiracy theorist.
Okay, great.
Reporting describes her as a pro-Trump conspiracy theorist, which, I mean, come on.
She's just right about things.
It was right, and the right-wing media was tied to claims such as suggesting that mail bombs sent to Trump's critics in October 2018 were actually a left-wing false flag, claim she deleted after the suspect was identified as a Trump supporter. Though, to be fair, there were tons of both out in the open false flag style attacks, like the fact that Democratic super PACs,
that's not a
Democratic supporters supported super PACs donated to primaries of extreme Republicans who would then win the primary, but then be unelectable in the general election. Like there were absolutely Democratic conspiracies. So I don't know. And then by 2020, she was publicly questioning official COVID-19 death figures, which everyone was, attacking Bill Gates as a vaccine criminal. I don't know.
And then everyone was. Come on.
She was part of a broader anti-vaccine pandemic-related conspiracy rhetoric.
This is only strengthening the case that it's AI psychosis, because all of this stuff is conspiracy fashioning. Okay, these are actual conspiracies. A conspiracy spotter. All right, they're the difference between being a conspiracy
versus generator. You're right, because now she's generating really novel, interesting stuff.
Yeah. So if you go with this stuff, I remember there was a Vanity Fair piece that came out recently, and they tried to like attack a bunch of the Trump people, and it was like JD Vance is a conspiracy theorist. And I'm like, oh, based. Right, like that's pretty cool, right? Like because when I hear that, I think, oh, he's like questioning stats around like COVID or something like that, right? Like,
yeah, I don't never forget that scene from
Charlie Kirk
Kennedy's
is a time traveler.
RFK's confirmation hearing, where they're like, well, but how do you answer the claims that you're a conspiracy theorist? And he's like, well, which conspiracy theory are we talking about then? This one, because it turned out to be true. This one, because it turned out to be true. Yeah. It's just like, oh, damn. Yeah, like what it means to be a conspiracy theorist now is very different from what it meant before there were genuine rampant conspiracies all around us. So touche. But in favor of the fan-driven psychosis then, Candace got big because of Charlie Kirk's assassination. I'll give you a graph. I'm going to send you you can basically see in 2025, her follower count just went completely
So she's got no reason to tone it down at this point.
Yeah, like she is being rewarded for her conspiracy theories. Click on the graph that I sent you.
Uh-oh.
You can see it just goes like as soon as she goes off the reservation, it gets very lucrative.
Literally, no, it was like leveling off, okay, at around like 1.5 million, right? And then in 1 year, it jumps to like 5.5 million. Yeah, okay.
And like let's talk. If you are, say, a therapist trying to, or a family, or someone trying to intervene in someone's existing tendency toward psychosis, the last thing you want to do is heavily reward it, both in terms of fan feedback and in terms of money. But what's happening with her is you get this Skinneristic instant cha-ching plus, oh my God, you're amazing, every time she comes up with some new delusion. So I do think that the fan feedback plays a role.
So quickly. Do you know how quickly my brain would fry if you guys loved every, and I do come up with a lot of good.
If you monetarily loved, we're on Patreon and
we have a new one that's going to come out soon that I filmed today, but I want to put this one live tomorrow. But the one that we filmed today is why Muslims never win wars of conquest after like 200 years of Muhammad's death. And it's weird. Like when you go into the data in it, it's weird. And it is very conspiratorial.
Is it as weird as Macron's wife being a man?
We argue that prejudice is good, and it's why the early Muslim empires.
I mean, that's classic base camp bread and butter. And give us time, though. I mean, Candace was doing this longer than we have been doing.
We have definitely gotten crazier as time has gone on. I'll give you that much. Like our fans, when we did the episode saying that parasites are likely augmenting people's arousal pathways and thus their sexual identities. They were like, give it, because that's pretty deep Republican.
And the toxoplasmosis is giving people certain fetishes and stuff.
And people were like, because what basically people hear from that is being gay is contagious, right? And so they or alternate sexual profiles are contagious, and then they're like they'll be talking about demons next. Like they're getting there. And our fans who say this love it. Our fans love the deeper our conspiracies go. I never get hey Malcolm, step back from the ledge there. Like
if that was accompanied with a bunch of paid subscriptions, we'd probably feed into it more. I'm not asking. Am I asking for that? I don't mind. We need money. It's very cold. Can you see how cold it is in here right now? I'm just saying we're cold. But in favor of normal psychosis, I actually do think that there is something to this. There is no reliable public evidence that Candace Owens has any sort of family history of psychosis or schizophrenia. And she's certainly not discussed any family history, or there's no credible biological news sources on this. So there's no she comes from a family with this kind of problem. However, Jordan Peterson has talked about his family having all the sorts of, health problems that he then associates with. So I'm just saying there are other people who talk about these things. Candace Owens doesn't talk about this. However, she does seem to have this general tendency to think in a schizo manner that stems back even to her early career before you could have AI or fan-based psychosis. Because in 2016, during her whole soul autopsy, her doxing web, you remember her first business venture was basically a doxing website?
For doxing other people?
Yeah, social autopsy was supposed to be this. It was her entry into the Gamergate circles, where she blamed progressive gamers in the left for doxing her, despite her basically very scant evidence. And in this case, she basically had this very conspiratorial, they're out to get me mindset about being doxed and being persecuted. And I think as long as there's sort of a public record of her, there's a record of her thinking that people are out to get her and that there are conspiracies against her. So I think it is part of her general mindset. And so what I think we have with the psychosis maxing of Candace Owens is a perfect storm of someone who, just by personality, be it schizo or not, tends to view things conspiratorially and also tends to believe people have it out for her personally, then being subject to AI-driven psychosis. At the same time, she is subject to fan-driven psychosis. You get this really powerful result. And that is why suddenly there's stories of Charlie Kirk going to the X-Men style.
Well, and I think that we have evidence. You have shared with me what I found to be very credible evidence of AI psychosis, specifically the type of conspiracy that she was building, where she was going through, I think it was like random strings of letters tied to like call signs on planes and connecting them with like famous events from history. And it was not the type of connection that a human could easily make, but it's the type of connection you could force an AI to make. Like,
well, but also like the Frankist stuff, like that's deep. And I think you have been able to do a lot of religious history research because AI has enabled those searches. I would be shocked if she doesn't use AI to power her research. She doesn't have like a big staff or operation. I mean, her husband manages the business side of her business. I don't think he's that involved in her content. And I don't think she has a big staff. So I think she's leaning heavily on AI. And the correlation between someone who leans heavily on AI for research and who then asks AI a sort of mirror on the wall situation that drives people nuts is the risk is higher, right? When you're exposed to that.
But the structure of some of her conspiracy theories, basically a human couldn't structure a conspiracy theory that way, not quickly. They might be able to, putting it on the site, letting the autists go at it for a few months, and then come back and been like, well, they found, because it wasn't like it was like, okay, there was this call sign, which was like this camp in World War II, and there was this call sign, which was this secret military group in like the Napoleonic Wars, and there was this call sign, and it was like, those are really not normal connections.
Yeah, only AI could easily and fastly do that at scale. Otherwise, you have to wait for autists to churn and churn and churn. That's fair. Although I think, again, it's even more superpowered by the fact that you do have all these people feeding her stuff and her actively asking people to feed her stuff. So it's top minds.
I'm asking you guys, if we have any people in the Candace Owens, get her on our conspiracy theories, okay? We've got a lot of good ones here. We got a lot of good ones. Could be synergistic.
Yeah, but I mean, unless we have to plausibly be implicated in Charlie Kirk's murder, because that is ultimately the big cash cow. Like, that is the thing. All these things, even the Macrons, keep in mind, like everything except for dinosaurs and the moon landing being fake and gay are pretty much connected in some way to Charlie Kirk. It all comes back to Charlie Kirk. I mean, his martyrdom was her skyrocketing to fame. And she is
and very shameful, as Piers.
It is. It's really, it is. It hurts me to see that part of it. It's very. I don't like saying cringe, but it is.
If she's not just crazy, she's a very bad person. Like, that's just the.
But see, I don't think she needs to be. I mean, I think she genuinely really liked Charlie Kirk. They clearly flirted and had fun, and I don't mean to insinuate anything bad. Both were married happily. I think they were both very happily married too. I just think that they were playful friends and they liked each other, and he was nice to her. I mean, to be fair, I think he was very playful and kind and charismatic with everyone he worked with, which is one reason why he was so successful in his role and a great fundraiser to boot. But yeah, I think she genuinely cared a lot for him, and it drove her pretty nuts to see him. But here's the other thing is, when you are in this period of grief and emotional insanity, when you lose someone you care a lot about, and then everyone rewards you when you go through this one period of your grief where you're like, oh, it was the Jews who did it, it was TPUSA, it was the French, it was and then people feed into that. When you're kind of driven crazy by your grief, you can do crazy things. I don't think this was intentional. I don't think she was like, wow. I just think when it's very hard to go against your instincts when you do something and then get immense rewards for it. It's just classic conditioning.
Dave Chappelle has also talked about this, but he was saying, and I think this is something at play here, that it can be very hard for famous people to accept that just a random crazy person can kill one of your friends. And this is hard for normal people to accept. And so you invent a larger theory about why, and his death was actually part of some bigger conspiracy. But it's uniquely hard, as Chappelle pointed out, and I can't easily empathize with this for whatever reason, that random nobodies can just kill you for no reason other than their weird ideological agenda.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I hear that. I think you nailed it on the head. What's causing this? And I feel like I mean, you say, I hope she gets better, but it's making her money. So, you know, like if she gets better, will anyone care what she has to say anymore? Right. Like it's a,
You know, that's the thing is she can't really go back now. Maybe the way that this can work out the best is she settles her lawsuit with Macron's and she becomes the trend spotter of new emerging conspiracy theories, but manages to be the person who separates the wheat from the chaff and actually surfaces new and good conspiracy theories that are true and credible and that change the way that people
you and I know exactly where this goes. So what's going to happen is she's going to keep spiraling into crazier and crazier stuff until it's clear to any mainstream fan base she has that she's actually just a crazy person.
It's already getting pretty far.
I mean, keep in mind, this kind of happened in much slower motion to Alex Jones, where he starts fairly normal and then he gets a little crazier and then he's shouting at the camera and about to lose it. But this took like 10 or 20 years for him because he didn't feed into it as quickly. She's just gone all in immediately. Like she's at a point now that's way crazier than Alex Jones ever got.
If she's making $250K a month just on Patreon, as long as she and her husband save responsibly, they can.
I don't think she's going to save responsibly, Simone.
I'm just saying they can be financially independent for the rest of their lives and just live off their dividends comfortably.
If she can be financially responsible.
Yeah, but I mean, look, she's going to make $1 million from Patreon alone in a quarter. $4 million a year. She'll have $8 million in 2 years. That means that just off the invested amount, she could have over $20K a month in take-home income. I mean, some of that will be taxed. It's just that, like, that Candace, save responsible. I mean, her husband's managing the business. She's just going off. I imagine he's the kind of responsible man who's quietly banking this, and he's like, look, we'll just have her. She'll get a lot of work done after this.
We'll get some.
But we will help her after. Right now, let's just rake it in and we'll pick up the pieces and put her back together as we live quietly on a farm somewhere far away from all of this and offline, you know?
Yeah.
That is what I'm hoping for. Her husband in the background, he'll pick up the pieces, but right now he's doing what he needs to do. You know, get that bag, sir.
It's true.
Yeah.
True. Well, you are amazing. I loved this episode. I thought you did an absolutely excellent job of introducing me to all these ideas because I didn't know them going into this.
I was delighted to learn them as well. And check out Reality Fabricator if you want to play. I'll give you the link to that. There's the shareable link of the scenario where you're Candace Owens, but all of the conspiracy theories are true. If you want to understand what it's like to live in her world, you will know now. You can play as her in her world. Delightful. So I love you, Malcolm. And for dinner, we're making mystery curry with green onions, peppers, and I'm going to put cream in because you wanted cream in your curries, right?
Oh, I love that idea. Right. Yes. Well, and because it's a mystery curry, you probably
hoisin sauce and sambal oleg added.
Yeah.
So sambal oleg, I'm of course going to saute garlic before I put it all in too. So, okay. I love you. And actually, since you're dressed, would you mind running and getting the kids? I can call Stacy right now just so I can.
Yes, but you call Stacy, okay?
Okay, I will. Calling right now. I love you. Oops. And la 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 la.
Oh wait, why? Why did you go there? Because I need it. Mom, you were already in the toilet. Okay, how do we put it there? There's not one enough to put it. I guess the mouse is not. Oh wait, it's not connected. That way the mouse is not working. What? This is the mouse.
Yeah, you plugged the mouse in there. That might have broken it, by the way. You can't plug the mouse into a power slot.
Yeah.
Octavian, be careful about being so close to the edge of the bed. You could fall off, okay? What are you doing, little one?
Hey, you guys want to watch Power Rangers?
Yeah, Power Rangers! I just want to play like mini game where we got to make a roller coaster.
Yeah, I'll put on Roller Coaster Tycoon for you. Don't worry.
Oh,
Wait, Octavian, but you got to say like and subscribe.
like and subscribe, please, everybody.
What about Toasty? Can you say it?
Like and subscribe.
What about you, Titan? Can you say it?
Like and subscribe.
Okay, Indy, can you say it? I love you, Indy.